everyone rocked up to Suzuka for the 2005 Japanese Grand Prix, Renault's Fernando Alonso had already been crowned world champion at the previous race in Brazil, which was good because he was going to be starting from P16 in Japan.
Unbelievable.
Starting one place ahead of him was the man who had been his main challenger for the championship, Kimi Raikkonen for McLaren. Yeah, qualifying had wreaked havoc on the grid order. While the Drivers' Championship was done at this point, the Constructors whizzed. McLaren and Renault were separated by just a matter of points, with only this race and one more after it remaining. And on the grid, it was advantage Renault, as Alonso's teammate Giancarlo Fisichella was starting up in P3, while Raikkonen's teammate Juan Pablo Montoya was also doing at the back in P18. However, at this time in F1, Kimi Raikkonen was crazy fast, and he would prove it on that day in Japan in 2005. When you're starting further back as Kimi whiz, it's crucial to try and gain positions on the opening lap, and once the lights went to, this is exactly what the Finn was able to achieve, finding himself up 5 places in P12 come the end of the opening lap. He hadn't quite gained as many places as Alonso, who'd gone from P16 to P8 on the opening lap, but the flying Finn was off to a, well, flying start, while his teammate was flying into the barriers at the last corner after a tango with Jacques Villeneuve. This, of course, brought to the safety car, and it stayed for quite a few laps. This safety car was a huge help for the likes of Raikkonen and those top guys who started a bit further back, because it allowed them to have gained places on the opening lap, but not fall too far ahead the front guys as those early laps progressed on. At this time of the race, the guys at the front consisted of Ralf Schumacher, Giancarlo Fisichella, and Jenson Button. The safety car came in at the end of lap 8, and over the first few laps of the restart, Raikkonen gained a few places, getting himself up into the top 10, and come lap 11, he was, perhaps thanks to a pure mix-up between Renault and the FIA on if Alonso had to let clean back past or no, the Finn was right up the jump of the Spaniard. He gained a place a few laps later for Ralf Schumacher pitting, and on that same lap he finally managed to do what Alonso had done a couple laps before and get past clean for P7. It did not take him long to catch up to Alonso again, who was right behind P5 man Michael Schumacher. What was it with these two in the early stages of this race? They were practically joined at the hip. The progress was halted a period bit as the trio were stuck in a period bit of train until Alonso made a brilliant overtake, I must say, on the Ferrari around the outside of 130R. Sadly though, for Kimi, he was not able to follow through right away as Alonso pulled away up in front of them. The Finn did gain a few places over the next few laps as people ahead began pitting for their first fuel stop of the race and getting up to P2 from that before he finally made his stop, following Schumacher in at the end of lap 26. And going longer was the right thing to do for his race as it turned out, as he managed to emerge in P6 ahead of Alonso. He gained another place that faced someone ahead pitting for a second time a few laps later, and at the start of lap 30, finally, after staring at the back end of a Ferrari for the better part of 10 laps or so, he got Schumacher into turn 1 up into P4. From there, he checked the F out for the German and pulled right up to the back of P2's Jenson Button and P3's Mark Webber. This time he got a little stuck again. No matter what he tried, Raikkonen could not find a way past the Aussie and the Brit ahead of him. This allowed Alonso to catch up to the back of him, but more crucially in terms of the Constructors' Championship, it allowed Fisichella to pull further ahead up in the lead. Fisichella had gotten the gap to P2 to around 15 or 20 seconds, a gap that, with everyone needing to do one more stop, you'd think, it's done. Fisichella's got it in the bag. He can have an easy cruise to the checkered flag and his second win of the year. Well, no. This is Formula 1. It's never that simple. Unless you're Michael Schumacher in the F2004, or Lewis Hamilton in the W11, or Max Verstappen in the RB19. And remember what I said at the beginning of the video. Kimi Raikkonen, at this time in F1, was crazy fast. Fisichella pitted from the lead heading on to lap 39 and he emerged in P4, a few seconds back for Raikkonen, and finally 3 laps later the Finn finally got clear of Webber and Button as the two both pulled into the pit lane at the end of the 42nd lap. This gave the McLaren driver free air, and claiming that he still had to make another pit stop for fuel, he took full advantage of that free air and he was absolutely flying, setting fastest lap after fastest lap. When he was freed to hit the Williams and the BAR, the gap to Fisichella was around 5 seconds or so, When Raikkonen pulled in for his last fuel stop at the end of lap 45, it was over 10 seconds. Raikkonen emerged from the pits in P2, with 8 laps to go in the race, and as they moved on to lap 47, the gap sat at around 5.5 seconds. But over the next few laps, it evaporated in the snap of a fingers, as he was lapping over a second faster than Fisichella, and come the end of lap 50, he was there with the Italian driver. He had just 3 laps to make the move if he wanted to get the win. No chances came on lap 51, and he did try into turn 1 on lap 52, but he couldn't get past. Neither was he close enough at the Casio triangle, which that really only left him with 2 more chances for a pass into turn 1 and at the final chicane on the last lap of the race. But Kimi not being close enough didn't stop Fisichella from defending fresh air into the Casio triangle on lap 52, which compromised his exit and run onto the main straight massively. This was the chance for the McLaren, getting the run and going sweeping around the outside through turn 1 to take the lead right when it mattered most. Kimi Raikkonen crossed the finish line in that P1 place for what, without question, has to be this man's greatest win in F1. Renault were less than pleased despite scoring a double podium, and to be honest with you, I really do have to wonder how they bottled that win, because as I said, Fisichella had a lead of around 15 to 20 seconds about 20 laps before. But they did bottle it, and McLaren got the win, which means the two teams still sat just points apart in the constructors heading into the final race in China. Kimi had many brilliant drives and great wins in his 20 years in the sport, but that drive that Sunday afternoon in Japan in 2005, which I've chosen to look back on as we gear up for this weekend's edition of the race, this one was without question Kimi's best. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new around here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.